right, thank you for staying. Daybreak, the State of the Nation is here. It starts right now. We're speaking to Honorable Jared Okello, Member of Parliament for Nyando, Honorable Joe Ruto, Senator for Moranga, Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator for Makueni. We're reviewing President William Ruto's 3 years in office. We'd like to hear from you, mostly at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. Let's start with you, Honorable Okello, on this. In the last 3 years, how has President William Ruto performed, especially when it comes to the cost of living? Because we remember you vividly being part of the Sufuria movement because of the cost of living.
Yeah.
Have things changed now?
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. A lot has changed. A few have remained static. We just finished talking about our security systems and the way certain times we slide back to insecurity as a country. So those are areas where we need to inject a lot more attention so that the country can be safe. Because even on economics, you only thrive in a safer environment. Investors seldom go and pump their monies in areas where lives of citizens are at risk. So that is an area where we still need to tighten our loose ends. But additionally, you can remember just a few years ago, we had crimes of monumental proportions, including bombings and attacks by indoctrinated groupings such as Al-Shabaab. Remember the Garissa University attack. You remember the Westgate attack, and recently Dusit here in Nairobi. So there is a period where we had a series of such attacks in our country. Give it to our systems that have also done great to thwart such monumental insecurity issues, to the extent that actually we now no longer hear about them. So that tells you that the NIS, whose mandate is to gather intelligence and thwart intelligence, are doing a great job for the Kenyan people. That is something that we have to applaud the efforts of the government on that front. But coming back to your question, Trevor, we always talk about the father of real development in our country. Out of the 5 presidents who have been in office, including President Ruto, Kibaki being, the father of true development. But you also have to remember that even though Kibaki did so much for our country, Kibaki at 3, if you juxtapose with Ruto at 3, Ruto has done much more than Kibaki at 3. Remember, at 3 years, Kibaki lost a referendum at 3 years in his office because Kenyans had become so tired about his regime and all the attendant failures during that period, to the extent that when Kenya went into a referendum to pass the new constitution, which was dubbed Kilifi draft or Amos Wako draft, he lost so resoundingly. That, of course, he later fired the people who were very close, like Prime Minister Raila Odinga out of government, and the people who worked close with Raila to make sure that the constitution that never reflected the wishes and aspirations of the Kenyan people was shoved by the wayside. So Kibaki, of course, again, when they got into office in the year 2002, after a resounding win, he really defeated, the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, at the ballot. Immediately, they trashed the summit, which was to shepherd the government in a way that was going to respond to the needs of the Kenyan citizenry. So when he trashed the summit, he lost the referendum 3 years later.
Yeah.
He went into elections in 2007 and lost big time to the effect that he had to be sworn in at night.
Yeah.
and of course the country later went up in flames. So even though the father of development, that development actually happened during the Grand Coalition government with Kalonzo Musyoka as deputy and Right Honorable Raila Odinga as prime minister of the country. So the efforts that were employed by Kalonzo Musyoka as deputy and Raila Odinga into the Grand Coalition government catapulted our economy to greater growth within a very short period of time. In fact, all the developments attributable to Kibaki happened during the Grand Coalition government. Really, there was nothing to write home about in Kibaki's first tenure.
But let's focus on Ruto and the cost of living.
Yes, coming back to President William Ruto, Ruto has done a lot more within the first 3 years. And if I talk about economics, for example, we got into Ruto got into office, and you're right that we carried sufurias as a demonstration of our
rising cost of living.
Yes. When we got into office, for instance, number one, we did not have what we call the foreign reserves. You remember we had a big problem with the dollar, and that therefore made our dollar to trade at 161 shillings, 165 shillings to $1. Today, as we speak, 3 years in Ruto's presidency, it is 126 shillings to $1. And we have $11.7 billion in our reserves, making it very easy for our country to import anything. Because again, you're not going to trade in Kenya shillings while buying anything. In fact, you go out of Africa, you go out of our country, our shilling is left behind. So Ruto has stabilized our dollar reserves. He has stabilized the dollar rate. And when it comes to cost of living, Trevor, you were in this studio with me when food, or rather unga, which is our staple food in the country, was trading at 210 shillings. 210 shillings to 2 kilograms of maize flour. Today, as we speak, it trades between 70 to 100 shillings. Now look at that, almost over 50% reduction. And a country's economic rating is looked at on the prism of cost of living. Our inflation rate, for example, since Ruto took over, has moved from 6.7% to about 3% now, the inflation rate. So I would say we still have a lot to do, but we have also covered much ground. Look, for instance, when Ruto came into office, and that was a very bold step, President Uhuru Kenyatta had accustomed our country to subsidizing consumption. And that is why we had subsidies on fuel, we had subsidies on food items. But when President Ruto came into office, he said, we are not going to live like this. Let us subsidize production so that we have more to eat, we have more to export. And by that, he put a lot of emphasis on fertilizer and other farm implements so that the country could be able to make its own food. And as a resultant consequence, we now trade at 70 shillings on unga from 210.
So on the cost of living, you'd give him a what, on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest?
Well, you know, we would still want it to go to 0. It has moved from 6.7 to about 3%.
No, score him. Score President.
So I would score him at 70%.
70%. Okay. Let me hear what John Ruto has to say in terms of cost of living. Has the president performed well when it comes to the cost of living?
Thank you. Trevor, I think, you know, when faced with the question of whether the president has performed well or not, I think, you know, it should not just be a matter of cost of living. I think it should be, you know...
We will touch on that. We'll touch on 4 issues. Cost of living, health, education, and housing.
So fine. With education, I think...
No, let's start with cost of living.
Cost of living. You know, I've listened to my friend team member of the Bunge athletics team, Jared Okello,
yeah, I ran.
say that so that when he says that the cost of living has gone down because the cost of maize flour is of course, and I agree with him that it is at a better rate than it was about 2 or so years ago. But then we need to ask ourselves exactly what has brought down the cost of unga. And I really don't think it is President Ruto's policies that have brought down the cost of unga. I think God has just blessed us with good rains. And you remember that when President Ruto took over, and this is a fact, it's a historical fact, it's something that we cannot deny, we had like about four complete seasons of, drought. But luckily, when he came in, I think after the first year, I think rain started, coming in a predictable way. And I think that is what I would attribute wholly to this drop in the cost of maize flour. I would have wanted to hear Gerard tell us exactly what President Ruto has done. His administration has done in order for us to be guaranteed as Kenyans that even if rains fail again, like they had 2 years before he came into office, that we will still have food security. So to tell us, have we constructed any dams? Have we made effort? Have there been any policies to, to harvest rainwater, to improve on irrigation, particularly through the National Irrigation Board, so that even if and when the rains fail, because they will do. This is something that happens many times. And that's why everybody will remember, for example, that in 1984, there was a drought in Kenya. So what has the government done? That would be the question that I would ask myself, other than looking at the simplistic idea of the cost of unga having gone down. The other thing we need to ask ourselves, even as if we are addressing the cost of living, we cannot look at only unga. What about the other basic commodities? What about cooking oil, for example? What about sugar? What about do all those items? Because cost of living, I studied a little economics, not too much like Gerard, but it's the basket of goods that you buy. So that if, I don't know how you can put it, but if I went to a supermarket with 1,000 Kenya shillings, the basket of goods that I'm going to buy, what am I going to spend compared to some times back? Yeah. It should not just be based on one particular item, one particular good like a product like maize. Yeah. And so when we think about, I think we would better address what exactly has been done in order for us, and I know I'm repeating it, to be sure that even when rains fail, we will still be okay. Because I have not seen any dam, at least not in Murang'a. I have not seen any effort to harvest rainwater. But allow me also to say something that is that I don't know whether it is the right time or you'll give me time to talk about it. Yeah. Jared has been very unfair to the late President Mwai Kibaki. Okay. You cannot put Mwai Kibaki and Ruto in the same line. And Jared says that Ruto has performed in his first 3 years better than Kibaki. Jared was economical with the truth. President Kibaki in the first 3 years had brought free primary education. President Kibaki in the first 3 years had introduced CDF, and it had been implemented in the whole country. When you say that Ruto has performed better, then of course you are not honest with yourself and Kenyans. And these dollars, because I mean the rate, the exchange rate. You know, we need to ask ourselves again, what policies have been there to see to it that the dollar exchange rate has gone down? Yes, it has gone down, but what has caused it? Maybe the value of the dollar has dropped. Maybe it is not the shilling that has gained against the dollar. I mean, what policies have been done to see to it? I think that is what Jared should tell us. What President Ruto's administration has done to lower the exchange rate of the shilling to the dollar, and not just say it has gone down. Because we know even shares, Trevor, prices fluctuate, not because of any particular effort of any particular company, because of market forces. And so I think we should do a more comprehensive analysis if we are assessing President Ruto's performance in 3 years.
Manzo, what is your assessment when it comes to the cost of living?
I want to go to page 23 of the Nation, the county news. There is a big picture there saying, muddy roads leave Suba South commuters stranded. And they say there, men attempt to dig out a lorry that got stuck on the muddy Nyambera-Maguga Road near Nyadenda Trading Center in Suba South, Homa Bay County yesterday. The area lacks tarmac roads. That's the real status of the country. And this is not just duplicated in Homa Bay. It is in many parts of the country. The last good tarmacs which were done in this country were done during the time of President Kibaki. And if there are poor roads and the fuel is high, the only thing which explains why maize flour prices dropped was we've been very lucky. God is very kind to Kenya. After God realized how President Ruto was unable to run the country, he's been giving us range. And the Kenyans have worked very hard because the Kenyans have really been abandoned. If you tour the countryside, you will know Kenyans are very depressed. They are very unhappy, and you know, many of them are unable to take children to school. Many of them frustrated. Many roads, when it rains, unpassable. But the government keeps on painting a good image. You know, very good at talking, and then misinformation. The truth of the matter is, since President Ruto came to power, Thwake Dam, which Kibaki and Uhuru worked very hard to complete, Uhuru left it at 94%. Ruto has been unable to work on 4%. When I pushed very hard, even the contractor left and the site was totally abandoned. When I pushed hard, they sent about 260 million, which only went to debts. Then another 300 million in a project where they should be spending 2, 3, 4 billion shillings to complete it, so that people can begin, you know, food production, irrigation. So if Thwake Dam has failed, Konza City has slowed down completely, and there is no actually serious government project running in this country other than the fraudulent housing project with monies looted from people's pay slips and then mismanaged, and then you don't know how it's going to, you call it affordable. Affordable to who? These houses are being built for the richer people. So I want to rate him, you know, as 3%, 3 out of 10. He's really failed the country. He's very good at the gift of the talk, but the real action is zero. Kenyans are just tired, fed up, quiet, and waiting to send him home in 2027. And I really want to encourage those who don't vote, because 8 million Kenyans didn't vote. That's a big disservice. This time to wake up because they have seen the reality. All these young people to be registered as voters and to register as Kenyans, and also to participate in the election, and also to work for IBC. Because after the presiding clerk and the deputy, because the only threat we have now, they are going to steal elections. And all that Ruto is preoccupied with is a second term. He's not preoccupied with serving Kenyans. He just wants to serve himself, his personal ego, on a second term together with his cronies. And then after that, he doesn't care about the country. Yet he's one of the investors in this country. He will hope once he loses the election, he's going to be a good citizen. He will wake up and start building the economy. The economy is dead. Children are not going to school. I mean, it's so chaotic. Out there, if you go to the villages, the number of students reported to university we are fundraising for is shocking. The so-called SHA. you know, they'll paint a very good image. But the truth of the matter is we have so many patients who have paid for that share fully. I have quite a number. And when they are leaving hospital, very little money is paid for them. And we are still fundraising to clear hospital bills. That's the reality of the country.
All right. Jared, Manzo has touched on all the 4 areas, the cost of living, health, education, and housing. But I want to give you a chance to respond on the cost of living, and then we move into the...
And tell us what is this story in Suba. Cars can't move, lorries can't move.
But he comes from Kisumu.
Yes,
you know, that is his vicinity.
I'll talk about Suba. Now, you know, it's important that we move sequentially.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine that we'll bundle all the issues at once, the way my colleagues have done. When people do that, then they quickly run out of convicting, you know, points to put across. But, you know, first things first, Trevor.
They said the hunger is reduced because of the rains.
It is true that God has been so gracious to us and has given us rains. In fact, the meteorological department is focusing, you know, that we will have what do we call it? Efficient rainfall up to 2027. So that is their focus. So if we are going to have bumper harvest, then Kenya must prepare itself to receive quite a lot until 2027. Then they are projecting some drought thereafter, which we will pray that we shouldn't have, because we know the consequences that come with drought. But on the flip side, you know, rains don't plow, rains don't weed, rains never provide seeds. And rains equally don't give us fertilizers. So when President Ruto, so when President Ruto has given subsidies on fertilizer, moving from 7,200 shillings a bag to just 2,500 shillings, I mean, that has to be hailed. That is an effort that we must all support. Together with other farm implements, you know, zero rating, taxes on tractors, on agricultural issues. So all these have led to the country having enough to the extent that the prices have to fall because of supply and demand. And also remember, Trevor, that for the longest we have been importing rice, sugar, and maize from either COMESA or countries outside COMESA. So why do we have to import? We import because we have a shortage. Since Ruto came into office and he started employing all these systems that feed into our agriculture, we have not imported a thing. No sugar has been imported. In fact, what he has done is to move further to revamp the sugar sector. We have not imported any maize, and we used to import a lot from Tanzania, Congo, and many other places. We haven't done that since he came into office. So yes, God has given us the rains, but we also have to remember that there are many, many things that have been put into the agricultural sector that have given.
Let's now move to a different conversation.
So let me also say this, if you allow me. Kibaki gave us free primary education, and that was very good. But remember, we had overwhelmed classrooms and inadequate number of teachers. So at the end, we didn't get quality out of it. Up to now, we are still on the journey to revamping the entire education systems. CDF, of course, was signed or assented to by President, but that was not his initiative. Engineer Murue, Honorable Murue of Olkalau, brought that. Of course, he got the prototype from Zambia because Zambia already had CDF. So I don't know whether to apportion somebody who signs it into law as the creator of a system, or the person who moves it, takes it to Parliament, Parliament debates and adopts or passes it into law. So I don't know whether that goes to Kibaki, but I'm surprised here by my brother Nyutu when he says that he has not seen any dam in Murang'a. You know, that is the problem we have had as a country, that we pattern our arguments around where we come from so much so that we lose the bigger picture as a nation. As we speak, there is Korusoin Dam under construction in Nyanza, because of the River Nyando that has given us a lot of problems over the years. So the mere fact that there is no dam being constructed in Murang'a doesn't mean that there are no dams being constructed anywhere else. So I can only appeal to my friends from the mountain that let's look at this country holistically. If there is something better at the coast, let us all celebrate because we belong to the country. But that is the problem we have had as a nation, where if it is not going to Mount Kenya, then it is either not happening or it is a wrong thing in general. So we also have to...
Can I inform Jared? I think Jared needs information.
To guard against such excessive... Super South.
It's a point of order.
Super South, finally, on this.
Yes.
You know, there is a very good picture on the nation newspapers, and this is just yesterday. Now, this is a testament to abandonment by successive regimes in areas where I come from. Just because
this also happens in Makueni,
or from Kisumu or Homa Bay. This is Homa Bay. This is the kind of segregation that we have had to go through as a country. And that is why President Ruto is making every effort to include and incorporate everybody into this journey so that no one is left behind. All these good things you are talking about have been directed to a particular place in Kenya to the detriment of many others. So I'm glad that President Ruto has woken up. He's going to look at the country in its holistic view, and each and every place is going to get roads. In fact, this road in particular is being constructed now. Only that this is the section where they have not reached. The road construction going on at the coast and in northeastern part of the country. And everybody at the end of the day, under President Ruto, will get his or her fair share.
Ruto, there are three issues here. First of all, on the cost of living, you didn't give your score. Jared gave 70, Manzo gave 30. What do you give?
Thank you, Trevor. You know, Jared is, there's a way saying in Kiswahili that says, mkuki ni kwa nguruwe, kwa binadamu ni mchungu.
At least I know that.
It basically means that when something bitter is administered to somebody else, of course, you are comfortable. But when it comes to you, then of course now you can complain about the pain coming from the same. And I say that because Jared said that we should move sequentially. I'm borrowing his word, that we should not lump up these issues together. But he's a very first person who, instead of addressing cost of living as guided by you, started comparing Kibaki to Ruto in 3 years. But when some of us went into something else, now we are not sequential in our movement. So, but that's Jared for you. I mean, and I hear he's going to be the next Secretary General when they finally kick out Sifuna, and I wish you well, my brother. But that is neither here nor there. But anyway.
So, first on cost of living. Cost of living, he has done very poorly. Because apart from Unga, if you are going to attribute the drop in Unga prices to him directly, apart from that, and all of us do some shopping here and there, we know that the other products, of course, are going at very high prices. And so I think I'll give him 2.5 out of 10. So that's about 20%.
About 20%.
Okay. And then there's another issue that Jared raised here, saying that there's this narrative of entitlement from the Mount Kenya.
Yes, can you give me some time? Can you give me some time?
You're the ones who asked for sequence, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. That is what, there is some hatred that the President Ruto has packaged for Mount Kenya because he knows he's in problems with Kenyans. What he's doing politically is to try and create a narrative that people do not have a problem with him. It is Mount Kenya that has a problem with him. And that is why people like Jared have been enlisted to come and push that particular propaganda. And it's not the first time Jared is pushing it. And you know, it's funny how Jared twists a narrative to fit his thinking. I don't know whether he was under instruction from President Ruto. Because what did I say? I said, when I mentioned Murang'a, I said Jared should tell us the dams that are being constructed, because I have not seen one in Murang'a. And I said that because I represent Murang'a. You know? So I didn't say that to say that Murang'a is the only one that deserves dams, but because it's fit for Jared to push that narrative, and it's a narrative based on hatred, Trevor. And that is why, and I think I've addressed it here other times, that is why everybody will talk about the Thika Superhighway and say it was made for the people of Mount Kenya. That is why people will talk about, I mean, you know, we have a dual carriageway also from Nairobi to Limuru. Because there is hatred, there is a narrative they are pushing. Why? Who uses Thika Superhighway, for example? Kitui uses Thika Superhighway. Garissa people use Thika Superhighway. Everybody, Marsabit, everybody. It was constructed simply because it adjoins Nairobi, and you need to ease congestion from Nairobi. These two superhighways are only in one county, Kiambu County. And it's because of its proximity to Nairobi, because you have to go through Kiambu when you are going to Kisumu, where Jared comes from. So when Jared uses the dual carriageway between Nairobi and Limuru, you know, he will want to tell you it is made for the people of Mount Kenya because they feel entitled. I want to challenge those with that hatred and that narrative to tell us any superhighway, any particular dual carriageway, for example, put up between Nyeri and Nyandarua, or between Nyeri and Kirinyaga, to show to it, to prove to it, to people that they are made for the people of Mount Kenya. But you cannot, because if you use that particular narrative, then you will tell me that the dueling of Mombasa Road up to beyond the river, that it is meant for the Kamba people. It's a very naive argument, but it is made because of the hatred that, and it's President Ruto's narrative. Right. And you will see that it is being pushed by the ODM people. Because, of course, President Ruto knows that if he brings this narrative, he tells his people from where he comes from Rift Valley, to push this particular narrative, it will not, people will ask questions. Okay. Go to Kisumu, for example, Jared, and Trevor, because I know Kisumu. Go to Kisumu. See, there is even a bypass. There is that, I don't know whether you call it an interchange. I mean, things that were done by Uhuru. No. Uhuru, please, by Kibaki. Uhuru, I knew, for example, Kibera. Before Uhuru, I knew Kibera. Yeah. Go and see the transformation that Uhuru brought to Kibera. Is Kibera in Mount Kenya? I knew Kawangware. We had no tarmac. Not even a single inch of tarmac in Kawangware, in Kibera. I used to go to Kibera so many times. If you are going somewhere to Makina or something, and you met another vehicle, one of you had to reverse. Today, we have, I don't know how many tarmac roads in Kibera, okay. But people will want to tell you that Mount Kenya feels entitled. It's an insult, but it is brought out of hatred. Okay. And Jared, this same man you are praising, it's important that I tell Jared this same man they are praising, will use them up to election, up to 2027. If he wins, Jared will come crying here, because we are dealing with a con man. But when he's using you to push his conmanship, then he will give you some goodies, which is what they are getting. And then you will talk like you're talking about an angel. Wait until 2027. Jared, I pray that we will meet with you here in 2028, early 2028, and you'll be crying. Okay. Please.
That is a dream.
Don't hate us
it is one time.
anymore. But we cannot assess President Ruto, because time is not on our side, without talking about education, without talking about health. Are you sure we have time? Fine. Thank you.
So let's go to Senator for Makueni, Dan Manze. Let's talk about health. Has SHA performed well? Has the government performed well when it comes to healthcare?
Unfortunately, the biggest problem is corruption, and also failure to follow the Constitution. You know, health should be devolved. It has not been devolved. The national government has stuck with it. You have those machines for scanning, which were leased by the national government and sent all over the counties to pay for them. I know the ones in Makueni didn't work, and in many parts of the country. So patients have to keep on going to private just to get a scan, which costs between 12,000 to 15,000. And it comes at a critical moment when the patient cannot be treated further, and they almost die. And so you have to establish so that you can treat. And a useful thing like that is not working in the whole country. I mean, it's like having sold a brand new car to someone without an engine. It is not useful to them. And that's what has happened to that health bit of scanners and many other programs. And when you come to, you know, there was to SHA. First of all, there are many people owed monies in the defunct one.
Yeah.
You know, when you deal the way they have dealt, there must be, you know, successful transition, so that you know where the lost monies previously are. President Ruto knows who is keeping that money, who stole it, but they have not gone for them. And then...
but haven't you seen that some of them are being taken to court for fraudulent claims?
Not at the rate...
Is it better now?
It isn't better. First and foremost...
Compared to NHIF?
Yeah, compared to NHIF, it isn't better at all. In fact, now we hear more corrupt deals under SHA. So hospitals be paid money they don't deserve. Hospitals having stolen. We know Honorable Duale is doing something to recover and deal with the hospitals which attempted or stole. That's a little effort. If Duale wasn't the minister there, it would be 10 times worse. So thanks to his experience and firmness in dealing. But generally, this SHA thing has failed completely. We had the procurement of something for 104 billion. I am told by experts, because you see that procurement was direct. Yeah. If they had floated a tender, would have gotten a better price. Probably no more than 10 million, with our own young experts in this country. So how
would you rate this performance of healthcare?
Oh, this one here is just 2 out of 10.
Another 20%.
And that is, and Kenyans are dying.
All right.
And Kenyans, you know, the worst thing is to be sick and the system cannot help you.
Okay. Okello, healthcare, how has the government performed?
Thank you, Trevor. You know, I like this debate because it enlightens the public. And I also revel when my brother to my right, Honorable Ruto, this takes a toll on him. But that is the nature of debate. You just come present your issue, and Kenyans will make judgment. And that is why you invited us to come here. Nothing personal, really. It's just debate. And debate is based on facts. What we are going to talk, what we are going to achieve as a nation. But before I forget, this is a very critical point, Trevor. Today, KTDA will be in State House today, together with tea farmers, where they are going to release 2.8 billion shillings to tea farmers in bonuses that has been accruing over a period of a year or two. So this is a huge boost to the tea industry. It's not just a talk.
Yes, a talk.
We will be there.
PR.
In fact, I sit in Agriculture Committee, and I have been invited as part of the committee to go and see this. But again, in 2027, let me tell you this. Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, known for stabilizing the nation in areas where we need him, has joined President Ruto to help heal this country. You know, we had a very stratified nation immediately after the Gen Z protests, and the country was divided deep in the middle.
Yeah.
And Right Honorable Raila chose to join President Ruto so that they can stabilize this country. And we have seen the accruing benefits out of their rapprochement. So this idea of 2027 is not part of their deal. In fact, if it were, it would have been public by now. So 2027 will come, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga will give his direction, and nothing stops him from running to become president anyway. In fact, as a country, we miss Raila's presidency than anything else. So in 2027, he will give us direction. Coming back here, post-2027, I can assure my friend Ruto that we will be celebrating either Raila's win or any other win that Raila will be part of, okay? But Raila's win will be at the center of our consideration. If President Ruto's cabinet is that bad, and Ruto, my brother Ruto here still has his brothers from the mountain, in fact 9 in number, from the mountain, in Ruto's cabinet, 9 in number. You know, the best thing to do is just ask them to resign so that they come out here and be part of the opposition. Okay. But here, they are playing ping pong. On the other hand, President Ruto's government is very wrong. On this other side, they have their own sons and daughters right inside that cabinet that they are not telling to resign. You know, you can't have your cake and eat it. Now, let me come back to the health systems. Yeah. As a country, we moved from NHIF to SHA, thereby increasing Kenyans who enrolled on health care 5 times. Now we are talking about 25 million Kenyans enrolled under SHA. Whether SHA is working or where it has, you know, certain imperfections here and there, that is a debate for another day. But many people, including yesterday, in fact, you guys ran some news item here that people were talking about how effective SHA has been and so instrumental in their lives, where bills accruing from, you know, health care are being paid by SHA. So we moved from 4 million people under NHIF to 25 million Kenyans. We are halfway because our population is about 50 million. So if we put more emphasis on registration, then probably in the foreseeable future, Kenya is going to have everybody taken care of.
So you only see teething problems in SHA?
Yeah, which is common. You know, teething problems are common even in government. On SHA alone, 728 facilities that are non-compliant have since been taken out of the queue. So apart from certain problems here and there are also crooks who wanted to take advantage of this to come up with fictitious claims. You know, for their own selfish aggrandizement.
You don't have a problem with the exaggerated pricing of this system that Manzo is talking about?
104 billion.
Oh, well, systems, and I'm not a procurement person, when we have laws around procurement and everything, you know, above 10 million shillings have to go to public tender. 10 million. Now we are talking about 104 billion shillings. So that must have attracted procurement processes. And in procurement, we tend to go for the lowest of prices. So many people must have sought you know, this tender, applied, and the cheapest, which was 104 billion, which was also going to be paid progressively. It is not one.
It was the direct procurement. But how do you rate for performance in healthcare?
I would, well, we are still on a journey. Healthcare will be another 75%.
75?
So, yeah, based on all the reports that I have received. And remember, also on healthcare, 7,500 new healthcare workers have since been recruited.
Ruto, healthcare.
Yes, but before I come to that, of course,
I want us to talk about education.
Yes.
Talk about
a right of reply, because you know Jared says that I'm getting personal when he talks about entitlement. I'm not getting personal. That is a direct attack on, and it is something that has been perpetuated lately, and nobody doesn't know what Dan Wanyama said somewhere in Rift Valley, that they will isolate other people. And so why I take it very personally is because it's a narrative to isolate a particular region where I come from. You know, again, you know, when I talk about Murang'a, I'm not getting personal. I'm elected to represent Murang'a. There is a reason why everybody is elected to represent their region. Jared will be very concerned and will talk more about Nyando than the rest of Kenya, because he's not elected to represent Kenya. He is elected to represent Nyando. So it must be made clear to our viewers that it cannot be allowed that anytime somebody from Mount Kenya talks about Mount Kenya, that's tribalism and it's entitlement. If I am elected in Mount Kenya, I will talk about Mount Kenya because that is the area I represent. Jared here can talk about Nyando. I cannot talk about Nyando, and Nyando has its representative in the name of Jared. If Jared talked about Nyando and I told him he's tribalistic, or he does not look at Kenya in general, then that can only be hatred. And so that must be corrected, that the people of Mount Kenya have a right to also express themselves and represent the interests of the people who elected them.
Your rating on health?
Yes. But you see, Trevor, today you're not very kind to me. Jared has talked about so many things before he came to health. You know, he has talked about 2027, Raila will give a direction. He has already given direction. And he said they are going to go all the way. And we are okay. We are okay with them supporting President Ruto. All I was telling them, Jared, is that support him. We have done it ourselves. And he became president. And this is what he did to us. So I was just telling him, I was just giving him the benefit of experience. That support him, it's good to support him because you are getting the goodies now. But after you support him, that was my point, in case Jared did not get it. After you support him, what we are going through, including isolation and hatred and even insults of being called tribalists, is what awaits them in 2027. That's what I was saying. So please support William Ruto. But in 2028, we compare notes. That's all I said. I didn't say that I have no problem with the Raila running, because we cannot allow him to escape. That he's saying that we have, I don't know, 9 members of the cabinet from our region. And so we should tell them to resign. I mean, those are friends of William Ruto the way Owalo and Omolo were friends of William Ruto. Nobody praised Owalo from their region, and let Jared prove, because Owalo was not elected, was not appointed to represent them. I mean, Omolo was not, appointed to represent them. These were President Ruto's friends. So if you are not praising Owalo and Omolo, why do you want us to praise the friends of William Ruto who are in the cabinet? They do not represent us. They are friends of William Ruto. That needed to be made clear. So that you remember during Uhuru's time, there was Rachel Omamo, who associated from especially Luo Nyanza, who associated with Rachel Omamo, because she was not appointed because she represents that region. She was President Uhuru's friend. So the 9 members are President William Ruto's friends, if you didn't know, for your information, Jared. Now, talking about health, 104 billion of a system, proud, 10 billion now. IT experts have told us that a very good system would have cost something even, shy of 1 billion Kenya shillings. So what Jared Okello does not want to tell you is that 104 billion Kenya shillings was stolen. You cannot have a system worth 104 billion, and you can confirm that with IT experts. I've listened to them explain that 800, 900 million would have given us a very good system. So with health, that is one thing, one area where we have really failed. Look at the false claims that are everywhere.
Are now before the DCI.
Yes, before the DCI. Not before the court, so we can discuss it. These hospitals that are being closed, in the first place, most of them did not even exist. And they were paid these billions. While, and I've listened to Senator Halwale of Kakamega say that there is a hospital in his county, I think called St. Mary's, that has been closed because of claims that it has placed with SHA and NHIF that have not been paid, while some other ghost hospitals are being paid. What is that? That is corruption. So the hospitals that have offered services and needed to be paid in order for them to be able to continue offering services to Kenyans, and especially these mission hospitals, because they offer these services at subsidized rates, are not being paid their claims. Some funny hospitals, non-existent hospitals, are being paid in billions. And CS Duale is purporting to be closing hospitals that did not exist in the first place. And so most of them did not exist in the first place. So with health, you cannot give President Ruto anything more than 3 out of 10.
30%. Okay.
30%.
All right. Manzo, finally on education, you'll have 3 minutes each to analyze education.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it working? What is your rating?
I want to say that education is an equalizer to every Kenyan. And the best way to give hope to Kenyans is to make sure that there is access to education, especially free education. Yeah. You've seen what has happened to many schools in the country. And I want to say that's the only place, CDF, where it has not been used, has worked very well. The members of parliament who do not interfere with the CDF at all, there is significant, development in classrooms. You saw the story of Tharaka. Children even going through halls, mud walls. You see, that's very dangerous for children during the rainy season. And when you try to do this through Ministry of Education, it becomes impossible. I was a member of National Assembly for 10 years. In 2016, when CDF was outlawed, and the money was channeled through Ministry of Education. For a whole year, I was only able to get 12 million shillings out of 140 going to Makueni. The rest got lost in the Ministry of Education. And that tells you how inefficient the ministry is when it comes to development of classrooms, and how the little they do is just for PR. And in that particular score, they have failed completely. In fact, if it were not for CDF, it would be 10 times worse. When you come to high school education, it's very chaotic. There is capitation, which has not gone to schools. Many children have been sent home by teachers. Their schools are unable to run. The Ministry of Education has completely underperformed when it comes to capitation. They are unable to send the money there. There's a lot of PR, talk, yet when you go to the teachers, and the parents are suffering. Okay. Teachers generally have also suffered. They have suffered out of these housing deductions, and they have made a complaint. Yeah. There is also this proposal by Ruto himself to devolve education, whereby the constitution is so clear. You cannot devolve education is one of the national issues, and teachers are very concerned about that. So teachers have lost in their pay slips for houses they will never live in, because they have taken loans to build their own homes, and they will never come to live in Nairobi or in any of the headquarters where this is being done. So teachers have suffered. TSC has been very disorganized over the years. Okay. It has not handled matters fairly in relation to post-it teachers, even hiring of teachers. They are claiming that they have hired enough teachers. They have performed very poorly in that. So how do you rate education? Yeah, I will rate him at 3%. The worst of it is university education. Okay. The funding model has been changed. Yeah. The problem is that President Ruto does not consult his cabinet. Okay. Even if you put all those 9 Kikuyus there, their brains are not in use. Okay. Whoever you put there, they are not consulted, including the Minister for Education. Yeah. The cabinet is like a principal, in a head teacher in a primary school and the children. Okay. So that's why he has failed completely for not utilizing the brains around him. University education has a big problem. All right. Okay, look, 3 minutes in education. 3 minutes.
Let me start by this, and I will make good use of my 3 minutes. When you form government with a colleague or with a friend, you bring your people into that government. He brings or she brings her people into the same government. When Gachagua and President Ruto were forming government, Gachagua brought his clique. Ruto had his clique, and they formed that government.
It was a 50-50 shareholding.
Correct, 50-50. And I agree with him, 50-50. So because Gachagua was the problem, he left on his own. And President Ruto is a gentleman. At a mundane level, somebody would just send you home together with the people that you brought into cabinet. But he chose to retain the Gachagua people brought by Gachagua, even though Gachagua was the problem. So Ruto is simply a gentleman. If Ruto was the problem, he would have sent Gachagua together with his people. Now you remember that former President Uhuru Kenyatta met Ruto in Ishaweri, in his home. And in 10 days, 3 cabinet secretaries were added on to President Kibaki's list from Mount Kenya. Even though President Ruto was a nationalist, we believed. But given an opportunity to bring 3 people, he brings from his clan 3 cabinet ministers. So you cannot tell me that those are President Uhuru's friends. No, they cannot be. Because Ruto looks at our country as a one unitary society, he would want to embrace everybody. And you have to give credit where it is due. Now, university funding has had headwinds. We all believe it started with banding, which was a little bit more dysfunctional in nature, because there are students who are going to pay well over 200,000 shillings because they were banded differently. The mere fact that your parents both live is not enough reason to say that you can afford 200,000. There are families that are really, really suffering because of lack of access to either jobs or livelihoods. So that had been done away with, and now, as a member of parliament, all these letters are brought to us. They pay between 12,000 shillings to about 25,000 shillings, depending on the courses that they undertake. So I think that's a huge leap from what was going to be factored into the banding scheme.
You have 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. Now, I have to put it to say that President Ruto has constructed 23,000 classrooms, new classrooms, about 16,000 new laboratories, and he has employed so far 76,000 teachers. Today they are running a program on internship where he's going to absorb 24,000. So at the end of this year, President Ruto single-handedly shall have employed 100,000 teachers. That is a landmark. Where else has that ever happened on planet Earth?
So you'll give him a what?
I will give President Ruto 65% on education.
All right. Joe?
He's doing good.
3 minutes on education.
Thank you. And I wish Jared was talking the way he's talking around 2023 when they were wearing sufurias on the head.
Wait, not done.
That time, you had your time, Jared. It's my 3 minutes now. I mean, it cannot be that when you join somebody, they become an angel while they were a devil yesterday. Of course, so any Kenyan and Kenyans who watch, Kenyans are intelligent people, and they can see, the hypocrisy in Jared. He's telling you here that when two people from government, each brings their own, and he contradicts himself. Jared, you don't behave like this. I don't know what is happening to you today. He contradicts himself and says that President Ruto went to Gatundu and out of that came 3 CSs. True. But President Ruto did not form government with Uhuru. If it had to be the person then who replaced Rigathi Gachagua, then he could have asked Kithure Kindiki for those 3. So you see the contradiction. You see, and I can now see why every president, at least looking at Uhuru and Ruto now, when the president gets rejected by his support basis, I think that is why they run to Nyanza, because there you'll be comforted. You'll get the likes of Jared to come and sing praises for you. And he's a very learned person, very sharp. You tap into search, and now that's why, in fact, when President Ruto is in Nyanza, he laughs his biggest laugh. Same used to happen to Uhuru. What happened to Uhuru awaits him. They will just, watampapasa, halafu they'll also see what we saw. But anyway, education, capitation. President Uhuru left capitation for secondary schools at 22,000 Kenya shillings. President Ruto, and this is official because his minister has said this, has reduced it to about 16,000. And even the 16,000 is not forthcoming, is not disbursed in full. I mean, I don't know what Jared would call that. That you are reducing an amount of money without taking account of inflation. Because there's something that we call the time value of money, Trevor. I mean, a shilling yesterday was stronger or had more value than a shilling today. So you can imagine somebody who reduces capitation from 22,000 to 16,000 Kenya shillings and does not even avail the 16,000 Kenya shillings. So schools are crumbling, and that is a fact. Talk to the head of principals. I mean, then we have this CBC implementation. I mean, how is it? You know, ideally, it was supposed, CBC, junior secondary school was supposed to be domiciled in senior secondary school. President Ruto came and without consulting any professionals, you know, gobbled it and said that it was going to be junior secondary school, was going to be domiciled in primary schools, which has caused a lot of confusion because, first of all, how does a primary school head now start heading a secondary school in quotes? I mean, you don't have enough teachers because at secondary school, there's specialization of teaching subjects. I mean, so this confusion came in a very big way, not to mention that, you know, this particular junior secondary school needs labs, which were available in senior secondary schools. Okay. President Ruto did not consider that. And so, I mean, I think I would give him 2% in education. But finally, Trevor, my parting shot is, let President Ruto and those who support him, like Jared, look at what happened in Nepal. Jared, you could be the next person that is dragged in the streets of Kenya because of supporting. You saw what happened to the finance minister there because of supporting blind policies, just because of the benefits that you are taking. Finally, the people of Murang'a there will be a delegation from Murang'a going to State House tomorrow. About 4,000 people, and it's important for me to take this opportunity to ask the people of Murang'a who have been invited there. In fact, most of them are our friends, and they support us, one-term team. We want to tell them, please go. We have told them, please go. And I want to tell them the rate is 10,000 Kenya shillings per attendee. So if they get anything less than 10,000, they should know that those who have organized them have taken the balance. Okay. So the people of Murang'a, troop to State House tomorrow, take 10,000 Kenya shillings each. If you get anything less than 10,000 Kenya shillings, the one who invited you and organized for your trip has taken the balance. They must pick this, because if you don't pick it anyway, it is going to go. It has already been stolen from education, from health. If you don't take it, it is still, it has already been stolen. So the people of Murang'a, please have a field day for us. We will be in Wamunyoro doing what we are supposed to do. And what our supporters want.
A lot of feedback coming through here. Let's read some of them as we wind up the show. Citizen TV Kenya, Citizen Daybreak. Nicholas says, Trevor, comparing Kibaki to this failed regime is an insult. Kibaki gave us free primary education and rural electrification almost instantly. KK raided workers' payslips instantly with nothing to show for it. Okay? Remy says, while KK government journey has had its share of challenges, the government's commitment to the bottom-up agenda is clear. The foundations for a more prosperous and inclusive Kenya are being laid, and patience will yield great results. Wangari says, Trevor, ask Jared if his party leader had not joined President Ruto to form the broad-based government, would he still be speaking about the current government in the same way? Okay. Mavuti says, Trevor, please ask Senator Manzo why he has not lobbied for development in Makueni County. We have no roads, no dams. Thwake Dam has stalled, and we have no stadium. What is preventing him as a leader from lobbying the government for development so that the people of Makueni can benefit? Okay. Michael says, pro-government politicians always think that when they benefit, everyone is benefiting. But if you want to assess the true state of the nation, neutrality is key. Politicians will always lean towards wherever they are fed. Lekki Sean says, less than 2 years ago, Honorable Okello's party led protest over high cost and police brutality. Youth were killed, abducted, and brutalized. Now, allied to President Ruto, Okello hails his 3-year record as unmatched, from mourning victims to praising power. Is this truth or political hypocrisy? Gentlemen, that's what we leave it for now. Thank you so much for making time for State of the Nation. Coming up next is Cooking Tips. Bye for now.